So we're going to go over how to set up and print a one-color design. So the first thing that I need is I need my screen. So I have my screen here with my design. And you can see the designs here at the top. I've used this screen before, but that doesn't really matter. You'll notice that I've taped off my design. So I've taped off all of the parts of the screen where the emulsion isn't covering, or that capillary film, if you use that capillary film. So that's all taped off. I've also, on the back side, taped off my 2 registration marks, okay? And then any other holes that I might have found, they're called pinholes. They're just little spots where the emulsion maybe didn't get covered properly. And so I've covered all of that up. And so now I'm ready to go ahead and place the screen onto the press. And these registration marks are going to help me make sure that they're aligned properly. The screen is aligned properly to the press. All right, so first step is to slide the screen into the print head. And now I'm going to pull it down until the print head comes all the way down. I can push down on it just to double check. And I'm going to look down here and I'm going to make sure that my 2 registration marks are aligned with the center line. And then on our pallets, we actually have two horizontal lines. We have an upper one. That one is 3 inches below the top. And then we have a lower one, which is 4 inches below the top. Your standard design, you want it to be about 3 inches below the top of your collar. And so we use that as a reference. So we'll make sure that our registration marks are lined up along the center and then have the design right around that 3-inch line mark. And then we'll go ahead and tighten our screen down. We want it to be pretty tight because we don't want it to shift at all when we're using it. So you need to tighten it until it will no longer turn. And then we're going to go ahead and pull up our screen. At this step, or at this stage, what we're going to be doing is we need to get our shirt onto the pallet, and then we need to get ink and a squeegee so that we can actually print it. So I have a shirt here. Now, putting a shirt on is fairly straightforward. We need to open up the bottom of the shirt and essentially like kind of open it up like so, and then we're going to slide that shirt onto the press so that the collar is at the top and it goes down. And you'll notice that your design is going to align properly with that. I always bring the shirt all the way down and then pull up from the 2 corners on the shoulders to try and keep the shirt as centered as possible. If the shirt is crooked, then it will print crooked. If the screen is crooked, it'll print crooked as well. So we want to make sure both of those things are aligned. We align the screen to that center line, so now we need to place the shirt on. If your shirt has a side seam like this, you can actually just come along and feel the sides and kind of see, are you feeling about the same distance on both sides? If it doesn't, sometimes there will be a center line on the shirt, or you may just have to do your best to just kind of guess and align that. You can also kind of get an idea based on how the tail end of the shirt is, but it's ultimately something that you just want to try your best. If it's a little crooked, it's okay. If you get it totally off, then, well, it will be really obvious and not be as okay. So the next step is we need to grab our ink. So I'm going to grab ink. We're going to get some black ink here. And I'm also going to grab a squeegee. Sometimes we have squeegees that already have ink on them and we can use the appropriate color, but sometimes we don't. So I have a squeegee now. I got my ink and I actually just put it on this cart. And the reason we have the cart is just to help have ink by us, and then we can have it out of the way when we need to have it out of the way, and so on and so forth. So I'll come in here, I'm gonna mix this ink up a little. We just wanna do that to make sure that any separation can get, well, unseparated, united. And then we're gonna just take our ink and we're gonna place it along the screen here. Okay, we want to place it the same width as our actual design to cover that space. And so now I'll move that cart back out of my way. And now I'm going to get the squeegee and actually do my print. Now, with screen printing, a couple of big tips here is we want to make sure that we are printing in the same direction every time. What I mean by that is I always do a pull print, meaning that I pull it across to print. Some people prefer pushing across to print. That is totally fine. You just can only do one of those two things, okay? So you can either choose to pull or you can choose to push. I'm gonna show the pull method because that's how I do it, and pushing feels wrong to me. But it's not wrong, it just feels wrong to me. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna pull the squeegee across my screen here, and the first time I print, I'll do a little flood pass where I'm just gonna bring the ink so that I know I have ink over my design, and then I'm gonna push down. So I'm gonna have the squeegee at about, what is that? Like maybe an 80-degree angle. And I'm gonna push down. I actually use some of my weight to help with this, okay? So I'm almost leaning onto it or into it, and I'm just gonna pull across. And we should be able to do that with 2 pulls and see what we've got. So I'm gonna pull once, pull twice, and now I'm gonna put my squeegee back here on the back, just like that, and I'm gonna pull the screen up. There is an adhesive on the palette so that the shirt stays down. So if our screen doesn't print, if our design doesn't print well, we can always come back down and print it again. And so I'm gonna pull the screen up. Make sure you hold onto the screen until it's all the way up. If you let go of it before it stops moving, it'll fling because those springs are really good. And now I can check my design and I can see we're looking good. And so now what I would do is I'll take my design, or my shirt, excuse me, and I need to get it to unstick from that adhesive. And so I might even put my hand through the collar and just lift it off like that. And then I'm gonna pull from the corners, pull the shirt off. And then what I'm gonna do is I need to have this run through the conveyor dryer now. And so I'm gonna come over to the conveyor dryer and I'll place my shirt down and let it run through the dryer. And then we're set to go. And we've printed our shirt.